So, good morning and welcome to the WISE Immigrant Podcast by Miss Immigrant USA. We are honored to have you today and we would like to learn about you. Who is Matt? Where is he coming from? What shaped him? And what caused you to make this decision to, at your career level, to decide to run for Congress? So please, Matt, once again, welcome. Share about you, everything you can.
Okay, well, I guess I'm a hometown person, right? And that can be, Middlesex, but it also expands to the 12th Congressional District, but also to all of New Jersey. I love this community, and so I've stayed here my whole life. So I grew up here in Middlesex Borough, and I spent my first 40 years of my life here in Middlesex. My parents died when I was in my mid-20s, and then I got married and bought the house for my siblings. So I stayed in the same house for the first 40 years. And then as the family grew, we moved over to a bigger house, but still in Middlesex, because I had such a great experience growing up in Middlesex that I wanted to give that experience to my kids. A small school, a town where you can ride your bike to your friend's house and things like that. And so I stayed here, and I've been here in a second house ever since. So I've only lived in two homes my entire life, but I've done a lot from this, base. I went to Rutgers. I commuted, although I lived there for a couple of semesters to start. And then I went to New York Law School, where I commuted into New York City, and I joined the Army National Guard, where I went to drill, right down the road, and then did active duty there. And then all during my reserve time, I was here, but going to different places, different posts throughout the United States, getting a great experience, all from my home here in Middlesex. And one of the reasons I did that was because I learned about this community. I learned about Central New Jersey, and I wanted to be able to use that knowledge to help, Central New Jersey. And I was on town council for 6 years back in the late 90s, and I was proud to stay here in Middlesex, to use all the skill that I had learned to make Middlesex a better place. And I've taken that attitude, that sort of, I love my home, let me make it better. And now I want to expand it to all of Central New Jersey and all of New Jersey by running in the 12th Congressional District. So I am, a lawyer, but I'm a veteran. I'm a dad. I have three kids, twins who are 23, one of whom graduated Rutgers, one of whom is severely disabled. And we just brought him to his day program. And he's developmentally disabled, and he has autism. And he's a great young man, and he's taught me more about me and this world than any person on the planet. And I have a younger son who's 21, and he goes to TCNJ. And so, being a dad has been a really awesome part of my life. I feel like it's also helped shape me, and I've helped shape three young men. And I think if you ever met them, you'd say, I'd like you to say, and I think you might say, boy, they're so polite. Because, being kind and considerate and polite is very, very important to me, and I ingrained that in my boys. So, and then I'm also a corporate lawyer. I retired back in March so I could focus on the campaign. And I've been in the defense industry and the technology sector of defense for most of my career also. So I've learned all about appropriated funds and what Congress does and how the money flows down to the company and the individual. And that's another skill that I bring to Congress, is my knowledge of the appropriations process.
But what about your growing up? What shaped Matt? What values your parents passed to you? And what made you to decide to go to Army? That's kind of an extreme decision from a young man, and then later on to stay there and continue his career.
Well, that's a great question. First, my parents were, I grew up in the 70s, right, when I was my impressionable years. and it was challenging, I will admit. My dad commuted into New York City, so I didn't get a lot of time with my dad. And my mom was home, but working and struggling. And and we as a family struggled financially. I remember so many times my mother's, would say, "Oh, poverty, where art thou staying?" And it stayed with me, like that fear of not having enough money to do, important things. I mean, there are many a Christmas where we were told it's going to be a slight year, or a year without much. So, and my parents did their best to instill values and to make us good people. But I'll be honest, it was a struggle. My mom had her demons, which she ultimately overcame. I will say she was an alcoholic, but she overcame that disease in the sense that she recovered. And then she had, several years on the planet where she was, a recovered alcoholic, and she was really just a amazing person. Of course, then she got, lung cancer and passed away in her mid-60s. And then my father got prostate cancer, and he passed away a couple of years later. So yes, they instilled good values in me, but also I've lived a large part of my life in a way that I think they would want. And so I feel like I'm helping to make my parents proud, even though they're not here and they haven't been here a long time. So early on, I decided that I wanted to be the best person that I could be. And I literally, as a 20-year-old person, said, how can I do that? Like, what can I do to make myself a better person? And joining the Army, especially at the time, the Army National Guard, and then Army ROTC, these were ways that I could learn discipline, I could learn leadership, I could serve my country. And it just seemed to all come together to as a way to make me a better person and serve my country at the same time. So that's what it was. It was really, okay, let's do this Army thing and go to basic training, which I actually didn't have to do. I could have just gone into ROTC and done a lesser version of it. But I'm like, if I'm going to lead these troops, let me go through what they went through. And so I went to basic training after my sophomore year, and it was in college, and it was hard. It was hard. It was 8 weeks of constant drill sergeant yelling at you and getting up early and learning about the Army and how to fire a weapon and how to march, how to do first aid for my fellow soldiers. And I think it was if my goal was to try and be a better person, I can tell you that my time in the Army has accomplished that. I feel like it's helped me make myself a better person.
But was there like a one moment, like maybe you woke up in the morning and you said, okay, let's go to Army? Or was it lingering a little bit in your mind and you were like debating yes, no, or it was just like a instant thing?
That's a great question. I almost remember the moment that I decided. So my friends in high school, just about all of them, went into the service right after high school. And my friend Chuck went into the Navy, and Steve and Joe went to the Air Force, and George went to the Marines, and my friend Bobby went to the Marines. So my closest friends had all gone into the service, though on active duty, and I had chosen the college route. So I remember being at my friend Steve's house when he was home on leave, and I started talking about, how to be a better person and what did the military do for him. And I have to tell you, my friend Steve was he was not the best student in high school, but after 2 years in the Air Force, he came home a different person. And so that discussion with him and all he had become and learned from the military, I wanted. And so at that moment in time over at Steve's house, where he had told me all about being in the Air Force, I decided I want to do the military. And what was the best way to do it while still staying in college was the National Guard. And it was the New Jersey National Guard. So I got to serve my country, my state. And yeah, between Steve's guidance and all my friends, sort of their experience, and me wanting to also be in the military, I think it all came together that night.
That brings me to a question about leadership. We can see that a lot of people, men and women as well, who goes to army or do some kind of training, later on in their careers, they became better leaders, better serving the communities and the country. Do you think it should be everyone should be obligated to do some kind of training?
That's a great question. And yes, I do. And I would love to sponsor legislation that made that a reality. I believe that the training needs to be broad in scope in terms of the decision and and what the individual wants to do. So I don't believe we should have mandatory military. I do believe, however, we should have mandatory service. Perhaps a civilian agency that builds homes or helps feed people. So it doesn't have to be the military, but mandatory service where we have a rigorous structure for young people to learn from, I think would be very, very helpful in terms of making our country a better country, a better nation. So yes, I do, and I would sponsor that in Congress. And I believe that there are ways to pay for that through rewriting the tax code, but believe it or not, also using some of the military budget to pay for this training.
We are here at Miss Immigrant USA, and we talk a lot about immigrant identity, and that when people refer to immigrants, we are all immigrants. It's not just somebody just came out fresh out of the boat. They have the documents. They don't have the documents. They are green card. They are citizen. All this mix. How are you relating to this? Do you have any stories in your community that you connect with?
I believe strongly that we need immigrants as part of our structure here in the United States. And I find it abhorrent the way they've been treated by our current administration. And quite frankly, it's never been any administration has really done well by our immigrant population. And I find that abhorrent. And I think that we as a nation need to just understand the importance. And I will also say, I find the attitude towards the immigrant population, the racism and the negativity. I think that is almost based on propaganda. Like let's be honest, the right has demonized immigrants, and there are just people who want to believe it, who believe sort of the negativity, and that bothers me. It's not so much that it's being the propaganda; it's that people buy into it, and I find that I struggle with that, but that gives me more incentive to want to help, and it's not just altruistic. Like, it's not just, oh, we have to help these people for the sake of helping them. We do, because we're humans, but what the immigrant population gives back is you can't calculate it. It's not like they're unimportant. They're hugely important, and so we need to treat them with the respect and with the humanity that we give everyone.
We are kind of interdependent from each other.
Yeah, that's a good word. Absolutely. We definitely need each other dramatically, and to fail to acknowledge that, I think is really just based on a lack of information and the belief in the propaganda that comes out.
And what you yourself see the biggest problems in the immigrant communities, especially in your district, and how do you think they can be solved?
I think right now there's an overall level of fear in the immigrant population, and fear is one of the worst emotions. Nobody wants to have to live every day in fear. And this is so I do notice this in my conversations, walking through the communities as part of the campaign, and that fear breaks my heart. And we need to create policies that first address the fear. We have to make sure that our immigrant population isn't afraid to just be out and working and walking through town. The fear, and it trickles down to the children. The children are afraid. So here in America, we have children and adults who are afraid to walk through their towns, and I think through legislation and through the power of the purse, Congress can direct ICE to act humanely and to do their job without causing fear. And in fact, I could see an ICE that is more community oriented, even. But Congress can direct how that behavior happens through the power of the purse. And there's plenty of important laws that are pending in Congress right now that we need to pass to eliminate the fear. That's the first thing I want to get rid of, is the fear. The Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act is so important, where we have detention standards and we have rules regarding breaking up families. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine being a kid having that fear that you're going to be taken away from your family? We need to pass that legislation to ensure that we no longer have this fear in the community.
Just few days ago, I spoke with another candidate here from New York, and he said that actually his mom, who's 80 years old and long time she has been a citizen, she's scared. She's scared she might be taken away.
Yeah. No one should have that level of fear, that fear, because we want to be accepting. And again, how much has she given to this community in her 80 years? And like, this is a woman we should be honoring, not causing to have, this fear. It's important.
What do you think as well in terms of uniting people who are citizens or immigrant descents, and somehow through the time they kind of disattached from their roots and they forgot about their history, they forgot where they came from, and how this can be brought back to the light, that actually that's where everything started, from the boats coming to the coast of America, and everyone at some point there were immigrants, and now we are putting such a separation and putting in the box, the citizen that, like, the hard citizens, and then they are the citizen who obtain the citizenship, and then the others who are not part of us.
Right. I think we all should be proud of our heritage, and we should celebrate our heritage. And I have actually seen various communities throughout the 12th Congressional District where they would have a cultural and heritage day, and it would be well attended, and there was just such a sense of camaraderie at these events. And I think we should encourage that. We should encourage people to appreciate and remember their own heritage. And it's interesting because in so doing, we bring us all together, right? San Gennaro Day in Little Italy. How great is that? We all come together and we celebrate, Italian heritage. We should be doing that for all our heritage, because that in and of itself, as odd as it might sound, is what brings us together. A celebration of what makes us who we are actually brings us together.
I tell you one story. Once we attended an event at a Brooklyn Borough Hall. It was a Georgian event. And so Georgian, kind of Eastern European, white people. And then this African-American lady walked in, African-American citizen, obviously from here. And she said, "Oh, what is this?" And we explained her what it is, what kind of celebration it is. And she says, "Oh no, I can't stay here. I don't fit here." I said, "Please stay. First of all, this is your borough hall. Second, it's open to everyone. And third of all, of course you fit here. We are here all one." And I was really shocked and touched that she herself did not fit in this room.
Did she stay?
She did stay. We forced her.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
But I understand what you're saying, how her feelings were, I understand, I guess, to some extent, but I love the fact that you talked her into staying and making that experience. So that's almost how we have to do it, is one person at a time. And there's no better feeling than feeling welcome.
Yes.
And so, like, the fact that you made her feel welcome, and that has the effect of next she'll make someone else feel welcome, and they'll make someone else feel welcome. So I think that is great. And I think that when people feel like they're not welcome, it's just it's a shyness also to some extent, and it just takes one kind person to eliminate that completely. So well done.
Thank you. And Matt, you are running for Congress District 12, and you actually running the campaign.
That's it.
Tell us about that, where this idea came from, and how does the community react to that?
The idea came to me because I was thinking of ways to get to know the community, even those towns that I like in Mercer County, where I haven't grown up. I know it to some extent, but this was an idea to just get to know those communities a little bit better. So I'm a runner, and I run in hundreds of 5Ks, and they're typically sponsored by the community. And when I run those, I'm running through streets that I would never be on, never. And I'm looking around and I'm saying, wow, this is a beautiful little town. And so it hit me, well, why not create that environment in all 32 towns where you run through the town, you learn about the streets, and I always start in a park, right? So I'm at a park. I'm typically in the crown jewel of a town, what they're most proud of. And I go, and it was an opportunity to go to the park, and that's where we would meet people, and we would talk to people, all typically very happy, I guess, because of the setting. And it's not like it's in the town hall or something like that. It's a very, very loose and congenial setting. And so I would go to the park, the crown jewel of the town, see people, talk to them. And then I would run through the town to really go through the streets and see people, but learn about the community. Things like, oh, there's a creek there. I wonder if that floods. And then I look at the homes and see if there's flood protection. I learn about the town. And there's an app called Map My Run, and I would have to go on it to figure out, where the boundaries of the town was, for example. So if I'm running in South Brunswick, I want to do the whole run in South Brunswick. I don't want to go into, so I had to go to map and figure out where all the town borders were. And then in looking at the map, you could see distinctive features, and then run in the town and talk to the people and get to know them. And I carry my sign. I carry a yard sign with me. And it disarms people for starters. Like if you walk up to somebody, hi, I'm running for Congress, and you're holding a lawn sign, they're willing to talk to you, and they find it interesting. And so they're more open to talk to me. And so the runs have really allowed me to get to know the communities, not just the streets and the homes, but the people and where they live. it's been really one of the best experiences. I think when all this is said and done, my 32 town 5K tour will be something I'll remember for the rest of my life. It's been awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. I completely love this idea, and I think everyone should do this. First of all, it's healthy. On the third hand, it's you'll get to know your district even more and interact with regular people that you meet just by accident.
Yeah. Yeah. The other day I was running and I passed a family shooting baskets out in the street. They had a hoop up. I spent half an hour with them shooting baskets, talking about life, and getting to know them and their community. And they actually lived in Middlesex for a few years, and they had moved into the town recently. And so it was one of the highlights of my tour was just shooting baskets with this family.
Matt, we are here on WISE Immigrant Podcast, and we always ask every candidate, what wisdom would you like to share with others to empower them?
I think teamwork and relying on your fellow man is important. I think that they need to understand, all of us need to understand that we're in this together. And I will admit that the Army helped me sort of hone that feeling of teamwork, but everyone needs to know they're not alone. They have their fellow men and women in their community, but there are people like you and I, and we want to help. We want to help, and we're here, and you can reach out to us without fear. And so, my advice is, I know you're afraid, but rely on your community, rely on your elected officials who you know you can trust, like hopefully me someday, but whoever wins, know that whoever does win, you can rely on and you can reach out to for help. There's good people in the world. There are. I promise you that. I promise you that.
If somebody would like to learn more about you, where can go to find out more?
So my website is Matt Adams for Congress, mattadamsforcongress.com, and you can reach out through the website, but we also have Matt Adams for Congress on Facebook and Instagram. So absolutely, reach out and I will definitely get back to anyone with questions and answers and whatever I can. And honestly, this really helps me learn too. And I want to be the best congressperson that I could possibly be. So these experiences and discussions and questions help me learn and be better able to do that. Just like when I joined the Army to be a better person, 30 years ago, I want to, 40 years ago. I want to do anything possible to be better and represent the community better.
Matt, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. And we wish you that you run again for the 32 counties, yes?
Towns, 32 towns.
Towns.
Four more to go.
And after you win again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.